All right, so employability skills. So we'll jump right into this. So let's go. All right. So employability skills, like it's a very scary topic, right? So we talk about employability skills and we're just like, what is it? How does it work? What's expected of me? And it's really something that is just who you are and what you put out. So your listening skills, your technical skills versus what your interpersonal skills are. So don't let employability skills scare you, right? When people say that, or your career coach, or your career experience specialist, or your employers, it's okay. They also call them soft skills, essential skills, interpersonal skills. I mean, it really just, in my line of work and in my work history, and I am old, let me tell you, right? Is that it really comes down to how you connect with other people. So it's employability skills, right? That is really what it is, how you connect with people around you respectfully, togetherness, belonging, right? Those are the things that really work in employability skills. And we'll go through this. So, Erin, you are on it. So, and like the slide says, chances are you already have some. And you have to just think about the activities you've done before. So it could be at home, it could be through school, it could be volunteering, it could be employment that you've already had. But if you ever worked with anybody, right, and you had a positive interaction, you were doing employability skills, right? If you were respectful of your employment, showing up on time, talking to your boss before you take time off work, holding those things that might be like a little bit of old school manners, right? How does, asking questions on the job about how does this work and how should I do that? You're utilizing employability skills. It's that conversation. And really, if I could just boil all this down, is how do you talk to people, right? What vibe, just like the music, what vibe are you putting out there, right? So, okay, so we'll go to the next one. And they do include life skills. So we'll talk about this. So if you've ever got caught up in decision making, goal setting, critical thinking, or communicating effectively, you've already got some of these life skills, employability. And so if you've ever had to answer, what do you want for dinner? And you had to make that decision, that's probably the toughest question out there in the world, right? But it could also be very relatable to work. How do you do this, right? Can you do this? Do you need to make a decision? Do I need to do this right on time? How do I go about this activity? And you make decisions, right? You need to evaluate all your options and make sure that they are equitable, but they are fair and they create a goal, right? Or they accomplish a goal. So that's where goal setting is. So if you wake up in the morning and you say, I want to get X amount of things done, and you accomplish them, you can actually transfer those over to work. You do that same thing. You wake up in the morning, you start work, and you're like, oh, I need to get these things done. Those are things that an employer really appreciates, is that self-start, that self-motivation, getting there on time and knowing what you want to accomplish, right? Once you set that up, you got a plan for success. Critical thinking. You got to have a 360 view of probably everything, right? So like back to what are you going to make for dinner? Well, now I'm going to think, what do I need critically, right, to make this dinner happen? So how do you look at that logically? What steps do you need to take? Again, transferable right back over, right? To work. You got to think about those things, right? What are the tools that I need? What are the assets that I need to leverage? Who in my team will help me, right? Or who in another team will help me? What questions do I need to ask? And then you need to communicate all of that effectively, right? Over positive, right? Vulnerability, saying you don't know what you don't know and saying what you do know, right? To help get that to a conclusion, to help meet those goals, right? So those are life skills. We practice them every day. Um, and sometimes you need to tune them up, right? Or get a better perspective, especially when they're at work and they become employability skills. Sometimes you just have to look, how can I go about this a little bit better, right? All right. And I got to tell you, I got to work on that with this PowerPoint thing. So we are not without flaws. So as you can tell, I had to ask for help. Had a goal, needed help. Ask the team. So employability skills really comes down to that communication factor. If you have a positive attitude and you walk in smiling, people want to be around you, hands down, right? If you were the first one that says, I don't know how to do any of this, but I will help and be happy about it. Like, I know that's hard, right? It's super hard to do, but work can be fun, right? And especially even if you're working through a hard thing, you can still come with a positive attitude. And sometimes that is the hardest thing that you will achieve that day, is being happy about it, right? Because everybody has a down day. But in the meantime, it doesn't do any good to criticize anybody else to make yourself feel better. And we all, like I said, we're not without flaws, because we all want to do that a little bit, maybe, right? And maybe I'm just speaking for myself and being very vulnerable right now. But sometimes it's easier to say, oh, such and such didn't do that. So, right? And that somehow makes you feel better. But that's not a positive attitude. Positive attitude is, how can I bring that person with me, right? Or how can I smile through this? Or it can't always be like this. There's got to be some good here, right? I mean, I've worked on difficult things and I got to bring Erin and Jill, right? Hey, we'll all suffer together, but we'll have fun doing it. All right. So accepting and using feedback. Oh, so cooperative, working well with others. Sorry, I missed that one. It's really, you have to. I mean, you never go anywhere alone, right? You always have to have people that have your back, or you have their back, or you can learn from. And you just you got to figure out how to work with them. And people have different love languages, communication styles. They have different ways of doing it, and you just have to figure out what that is. And you got to figure out what yours are too, right? So you got to be reflective, so you know how to keep that positive attitude. So you have to work well with others. There's no job that I can think of right now that you are not on a team, even if it's just a 2-person team.
JJ said it goes hand in hand with growth mindset.
Yeah, yes. Growth mindset. That is something I would, if I could tell anybody right now, go Google that, right? Go take a 15-minute YouTube video after this, though. Don't leave me now, right? Don't leave me now. It'll hurt my feelings. But seriously, a little bit of work there, growth mindset, that's a great activity. Thanks, JJ. And accepting and using feedback. That is probably the hardest one, because that feels like criticism. But you got to turn it around. Do you want to learn? Are you willing to learn? Do you want to be the best at your job? Do you want to be the best at school? You have to hear what experts in that field say, and how that feedback you can make it better. You got to turn that into a positive. I mean, it's probably the most difficult thing on this list for me, is accepting and using feedback. So I'm just going to be real honest. I've been pretty far in my career so far. So hearing feedback, especially if it's negative, I'm like, that hurts. I thought I was doing good, right? But now I'm learning that there are experts in the field that have studied and done more than that I am at this point. And I need to learn that and be willing to do that, because I see that door being open for me, or just in even learning how to do new skills in a hobby. You have to want to learn, right? So flexibility, accept change and adapt to new situations. I know this is hard. I got a few people on my team right now. Flexibility, oh, it's a hard one, right? And I see them. And so one of the things that you can do if you have a hard time with this is that goal setting, right? Goal setting and anticipating the change that could happen, and talking to either your faculty members or talking to your employer about, hey, I really have a hard time with like accepting change. Is there anything going on that I should know about or you could help me with, right? In adapting to new situations. If you're have a problem with adapting to new situations, make a friend. Like make a friend at work immediately, right? Be like, you and I are friends because I'm having a hard time in this environment. And leadership comes in all sorts, right? But it really just comes down to showing respect and just showing respect for the people, listening, active listening, being vulnerable. If you are in a leadership position, either in your class, you can have it naturally, or in the workplace, it can come naturally. You have to continuously show people respect and listen to them, right? So if you walk away with anything for leadership, is respect has to be done, and listening to the people that you have. And I don't want to say this like this, but you have power, right? You have power to shape their day. You have power to shape how they take away their work. And even in the classroom, you have power to have that environment, right? You help shape that environment. So the best thing you can do is just bring the respect and listen to what's going on with them. So leadership is a pretty big deal. All right. Erin tells me that there's examples after this. I'm hoping there's examples after this.
I promise I deliver.
Okay, that is good. All right. So I know I talked a lot in the last couple slides. So here's the communication skills. In the chat or speak up, do you think that communication skills, what we have here, is correct? I mean, the ability to listen, write, speak effectively, like, do you see that working with employers? Like, is that something that you think that they need from you, or back and forth, actually? Yes. Yeah.
Got a yes.
We got a yes. This is good.
Yeah.
And we got a handoff. I like the handoff.
Yeah.
All right, Becky, go for it.
I was just going to add, as your forgotten career coach from South Bend, something with the listening and communicating that can happen with employability skills is being keen on watching your own body language, which sometimes I can be guilty of too. So the nonverbal communication, you may just be a little bit daydreaming or whatever, but if your arms are crossed and you have a scowl on your face, people might be thinking that you're not receptive to their ideas or what's being communicated, and it may be something totally opposite. Or maybe an idea, you're pondering something, an idea to suggest, but try to be conscious of your body language too, because people can get the wrong impression thinking that you're communicating something negative non-verbally.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I do, because I struggle with that face, right? When I'm really thinking, I do the stare off space, like and just off there in somewhere, right? And I'm trying to work things out. And I know that when people look at me, they think that I'm just like gone. Where did she go? Is she still with us? No, I got this complex thought in my head and I can't look at you right now. So the best way to get that out is, you can, with body language, is just say it, right? Say, I'm really, especially if you're in an interview, right? Acknowledge it. Say, I'm super happy to be here right now. I am excited to be in this interview. And I am a little bit nervous, right? Like this interview means a lot to me. And I hope that I can convey to you all of my skills. But if I look like I am not happy to be here, it's just because this is just something that I'm working through, right? I mean, and I know that sounds awful, but at least you communicated with them, right? Why you look that way, because you don't want them to jump to their own conclusions. You're closing the story for them, right? And especially if you have like a disability that makes you have like tics or some sort of like if you have a stutter, just hit it over the head, right? Just say, I'm really happy to be here. But sometimes my body language doesn't really convey that, and I am okay, right? So yeah, and yeah, Drew, I am with that. Demonstrate self-awareness. They like that reflection, right? Onto that. And I also saw in the comments too that communication skills need to be a two-way street. Absolutely. So if you are interviewing with a company and they don't have the greatest communication skills, it might be something that's a deal breaker for you. Like you don't, I mean, everybody's position is different, but if it's not a good fit and you need more communication by the employer or you need a different work environment, you have the right to say so. So I always like to shift the power back to the person that's applying too. You have to come together. It's a great relationship, right? You have the right to say, no, that's a deal breaker. Not for me. Next time, guys. Right? All right.
Before we move on, this kind of goes into computer literacy as well, but another aspect of communication that I talk with IT and people in particular, recruiters, they want people that can communicate at a 3rd to 5th grade level so they can easily talk about technical things to a broad range of folks. So it's also not just how you are interacting interpersonally, but also how you communicate in business as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I'm sure that we've all seen the memes of the corporate, right? I'm circling back to this on the 3rd time, right? Like there are some things like you just have to be authentic to yourself, right? And make sure that you know who your audience is, right? So my emails to our chancellor look very different to the emails to my team because my team knows who I am on a daily basis. My chancellor knows who his employee is and expects a certain level of communication from me. And I'm going to have to play those 2 cards in a very different way, right? So Chancellor Walken, if you were watching this today, just know I am on my best behavior. So back to the computer and technical literacy. I got to tell you, our employer consultants up north here, and I think this is just through the state. Can you operate the platforms that we have? Are you willing to learn the ones that we have? Are you open to this? So hands down, please be very, very, very conscious of the computer and technical literacy. If you feel like you have a lack in these skills, there are many resources that your career coaches, your career experience specialists, reach out to anybody on in CCEC, and they will help connect these to you. And we will look, because I think that this right here is one of the things that employers just want to know. And you don't have to be an expert proficiency. You just have to be able to operate them, right? And then in a manner. So, all right. All right. So most sought after by employers. I think we hit this over the head with the interpersonal abilities, right? You have to be able to relate to your coworkers. You have to participate. You have to have a growth mindset. We just went over most of this in the previous slides, but is there any questions that I can answer right now about interpersonal abilities, like positive mindset, goal setting? Is there anything here that I might have missed? Chat, speak up, don't matter.
Watching it, nobody said anything.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
I actually have a question, but I had something I'd care for on my end, so I'm sorry if you did cover this. But it seems like when I worked before, there was a lot of inner office politics, and I guess that's a big thing. How do you have these interpersonal conversations and not get wrapped up in the politics of things or the drama of the office?
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm glad you asked this, because there are some techniques that I personally use, right? There are people that you naturally, and I'll throw this out here, right? There are people that you naturally will click with, right? You have similar lifestyles, you have similar, hobbies, you have similar ideas and stuff, you will just click with them naturally and you will know, right? And then there are individuals that you work with that might have that higher level of drama or might be just unhappy in different ways. And there's nothing wrong with being positive towards a work goal, right? So as long as you keep that, you can be very happy about finishing assignments that you need to do, or, creating a strategic plan or finishing a homework assignment with a team, and still be very happy about the goal that you're going to achieve there. And you can have those conversations wrapped around that. Work is usually big enough, right? That can swallow up most of your time, right? And you can stay away from the drama. If anybody really wants to pull you into that, you have to be very self-reflective, and you got to be a little bit strong, but you can say, I would really rather work on this part to get this part finished, because I think that our supervisor will be very proud of us if we did that. And maybe that's the positivity that we need in this team, right? And I know those are really hard conversations to have, but having interpersonal relationships doesn't necessarily mean that you guys babysit each other's puppies, right? But our children get involved in, your home life. It could mean that you are working together on a common goal for work, and there is positivity there, and you can always do that. Oh yeah. So what's the comment in there, Jill? What did I?
It says, I have always approached working relationships with positivity. I spend more waking hours at work than with my family, so I believe that kept me separate from the drama.
So want to
Um,
bring up that
yeah.
ivytech has this wonderful set of guidelines for getting to know your success team, and same goes vice versa. And I didn't know about it until recently, but I think it helps you to practice those kind of skills where you connect with one another. And it's especially hard when you're doing online courses, and I'm doing all online courses. So
Yes.
I think it's wonderful that they've already aligned what the success team is required to do, and also what the responsibility of the students is. And if we remember that when we go out into the job market, if you will, I think the more we can connect with who the person is that we're talking to and get to know them maybe even before the interview, I think that could go a long way.
Absolutely. And I think that if you are pulled into, and I read in there, if you are pulled into a drama-filled situation that you're just uncomfortable with, it is okay, right? It is okay. Just say, I am just no longer comfortable with this relationship, right? Everybody has the ability to safeguard themselves from that. And sometimes if you're in a bully situation, or somebody in the workplace is not treating you with the respect that you deserve as a coworker, it sometimes throws individuals off balance that are doing that type of bullying, by saying, I no longer want to participate in this. If it is not work related, then I don't see us having a connection, and that's okay. And you can say, this is just where I draw the line, because I really value my work, and I really want to kind of keep things, closer to me. And that's okay. And I think that everybody has a personal decision to make about how close that how they draw close to their coworkers and things like that, So interpersonal skills are a little bit a little touchy, right? But if you come with positivity, respect, and professional guidelines, I think you'll be good. And then, yep, and I believe that too, Jessica. You can use office politics positively, right?
That's what that link is for. It's an article about how to leverage it to benefit yourself, but do it ethically.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So, and I know I don't want to run out of time. Yeah. And also, hey, if this is a topic that it continues to come up, you can feel free to reach out to me. or anybody on my team, so Jill or Aaron, and we can help work through that with you, because that's a big thing, right? So I got to tell you, employers right here, problem solving, reasoning, and creativity, right? They definitely want this, right? So especially in the COVID environment, they have been through so much, right? So it could be layoffs or actually a boom in business. We've seen both of them, and they need fresh minds to come in and problem solve. But you definitely need to bring the reasoning and the creativity behind that also. If you are waiting for somebody to solve your work problems, then you might be waiting for a very long time. You might be waiting your way right out of a job, right? And I hate to say that, but you have to come with problem solving, reasoning, and creativity. So if something is broken, right, and nobody's ever taken the time to fix it, take the time to fix it, right? Be a community with your employer. Pick it up, see what happens. There are outcomes that are positive that could happen and you don't even know about, right? There are opportunities that could open from you showing a skill set in these 3 areas. I have to say, hands down, if you had to pick one, right, just do the problem solving, right? Problem solve, right? And then if you can say how you got there, even better. If you can document it, even better. If you can put a creative spin on it, wow, you're just hitting it out of the park, right? So that is job creation, that is job stability right there. And I got to tell you, we deal with so many employers, and I have hired more people than I can count. These are things that I look for, right? And universal employability skills. Once you get this down pat, right, and you understand what your personal boundaries are in a work situation, what you're willing to do, you will have to be able to look at that job search, right? And how you go about it will be tactical, right? And strategic, because you will know what you're bringing to the table. So you need to make sure that your resume has universal employability skills, your cover letter shows a warm, right? You need to be positive in these things. They don't need to be dry. They don't need to not showcase your personality. So if you just got to bring your authentic you, right? So if you're a positive, happy person that's willing to do the job, that's problem solving and creative, right? Put it on there. I am happy to be here. Hire me. So no, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, but you just got to make sure that you have that, because company culture in today's society and the employers that are hiring is very, very into this, right? So this is what they want. They want an ecosystem of positive people that are looking to make a difference. If you notice, more companies now are talking about your hobbies, volunteer work. What do you like to do? They want to have a well-rounded company. Yeah. All right.
There's a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, yes, just recently a coworker and I stepped up to come up with unique ideas at Goodwill, and are in the process of making the work environment better for other coworkers.
Well, shout out to Goodwill and shout out to you.
Goodwill.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, I had a home at Goodwill for 7 years. They employed me. I was super happy. So I love the Goodwill mission. So good. And honestly, they are a 110-year-old nonprofit that has procedures from every decade. So if you are taking on that problem solving, congratulations. They will value that. They will value that, hands down. So nice work. Yeah, and honestly, if you're doing it for your coworkers, they will value that too. You're making people's lives so much better, because honestly, your work life affects your home life, right? And we all know this, right? You have a bad day at work, then you take it home, and then nobody's happy there either, right? And then when you make the work environment better at work, then your home life's better. So it's a one-to-one correlation. So nice work. Yeah. And let me know how that goes. I'm curious. Maybe I can help. I don't know. All right, so 5 transferable job skills from you to college. So your college experience. So just take a look at that. Yep, so ability to meet deadlines every day on the job, my job, your job, everybody's job. Don't be late on a deadline. Just tell you, right? Doesn't look well for anybody. Nobody likes saying you got to answer to more people. Nobody wants to answer to more people. You miss a deadline, then you got 5 people in your business instead of just 1. Ability to multitask, you got to do it. There's only so many hours in the day, right? And you got to check boxes. This is 99% of your job usually is fun. This is the 1% that is not fun, but I got to tell you, you do it with a team, you multitask with a team, and you figure out how that works, right? And you make decisions, then this is doable, right? No one will allow you anymore in the workforce, right, to concentrate on one thing at a time. And I can tell you, and I can give you a real quick example. There is no longer a secretary that answers a phone.
Got a couple comments.
Yep.
Jessica said these skills can be honed in class too, that they have 2 students who created an app to help connect students to tutors. And just last week, they pitched the idea to the college chief technical officer. And then Becky said, but if you're going to have trouble making a deadline, make sure you communicate with your supervisor in advance.
Yeah, Becky, we know this, right? Just Becky's my boss. So, all right, so multitasking, you got to do it. So there's no singletary in jobs anymore. You gotta be able to handle it, and the ability to achieve goals, right? So in the classroom, outside the classroom, you have to be able to achieve goals. But the biggest thing is you got to be able to set goals, and that's harder than achieving them. So you have to make sure that you have a good goal plan. So even if you get an assignment at school, set the goals around it on how you're going to finish it. Work 2, ability to adapt. Yeah, can't have rough edges in the workforce. You got to smooth those out, right? And in college and in work, right? The environment's going to change. There's going to be policies. You're going to have to adapt to those, right? You can't, working on a team project is no different than working on a team in work too. You're going to have to adapt to personalities, workload. You're just going to have to do it. And you're going to have to figure out how you can do it. And you're going to have to do a self-assessment. What do I need out of this situation to adapt well? Yep. Writing skills.
Oops.
Yeah. No,
JJ
sorry.
says adaptability with positivity can make such a huge impression. Very true.
Absolutely. Writing skills is one way. Email, right? So email becomes very important in work and school, and those are writing skills. Learn how to write a good email, but you don't need to write a good email. Doesn't mean it needs to be 6 paragraphs. Be concise, right? Get your point across and get out, right? Or get the question that you need out there and then get out. Everybody's multitasking, right? Back to number 3. Okay. Erin? All right. Next. All right, so I think this is coming up to the end. Just to let you know that we do have a resource, right? And it's free and it is here for anybody, and we can do a demonstration. You reach out to CCEC. It's called WIN. It's actually DWD, stands for the Department of Workforce Development. They actually rely on this program to utilize it to develop workforce programs, but we have it here at the college. And it goes through, as you can see, ready to work courseware, career readiness, college readiness, and soft skills. If you just take the soft skills courseware, it is really good and talks a lot about what I went over today. And you can do it in the comfort of your home without having everybody watching you, right? And you can do a post-test, pre-test, and then you can also earn some e-badges and some certificates that you can pop onto your LinkedIn or share, put it on your refrigerator, or share with family and friends. Did I sell that for you, Erin? Erin's my boss on WIN. just to let you know.
Yes, it was great.
All
Becky,
right.
Becky made a comment and she said, and you can potentially demonstrate in an interview adaptability skills by talking about barriers and obstacles presented to you by the pandemic and how you adapted to still meet goals you set.
That's great.
That's
Perfect.
great, Becky.
So just before we start the game, what I want to say is thank you so much for being in here today. This is not the end all be all of employability skills, right? There is a lot that goes into it, and it has a lot to do with you as a person and what you're comfortable with, right? So you just some self-reflection and taking care of all the tools. And just remember that at Ivy Tech, there's always a team of people. As you can see, I didn't make it through this presentation without my team and some extras, right? We are better when we are working together.